Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining this NextGen Cup Challenge webinar. We're super excited to connect with you and share a little bit more information about the challenge and give you a moment to connect a little bit deeper with a few of our partners. So before we get started into content today, we'd love to hand it over to folks at Closed Loop as well as our partners for some quick introductions to start us off. So I'll hand it over to the folks at Closed Loop.
This is Kate Daly at Closed Loop Partners, and I'm here with my colleagues Georgia Sherwin and Dan Liswood, and we're very happy to be here with you for the second webinar of the NextGen Cup Challenge, and happy that we've got such a robust amount of questions and excited to have the dialogue today. So thanks everybody for joining us.
Hi everyone, this is Megan Glavin. I'm on the environmental impact team at Starbucks. Appreciate you all and your interest in the NextGen Cup Challenge. As we face this together, we know that many of you were on the phone last time and are really just appreciative of everything you're doing. I'm even wearing my bioplastic earrings today to celebrate.
So thank you all again for joining us for the NextGen Cup Challenge webinar and meeting some of our partners. And thank you so much for Closed Loop, as well as McDonald's and Starbucks for joining us today. And thank you to our community for joining us for this next hour to answer some of the questions that you've been forwarding to our team and our community. And we look forward to diving on in. This is the question that we have tackled as a team, which is how might we design the next generation of to-go fiber cup to be recoverable on a global scale while maintaining the performance standards we know and trust. The submissions are due by 5:00 p.m. on November 16th. This means that we have 12 days left to submit within the challenge. So with just under 2 weeks, we really encourage you to get your concepts on the platform as soon as possible and to engage with us in any questions that you have up until that point. And also, you can edit your contribution up until the final deadline submission date. So if you have any additional questions or you'd like for us to provide additional feedback on your concept, please try to get an initial sketch up there as soon as possible. As for prizes, up to 10 winners will receive awards with up to 6 of the most promising solutions receiving funding and offer the opportunity to join a business accelerator program. Solutions will also be considered for piloting opportunities with consortium partners, and solutions advancing into the accelerator program may enter into an equity share agreement with the challenge manager partner Closed Loop Partners. There are 2 different submission tracks, again, just refreshing on some of the information that we've shared with you previously. There is the publicly viewable submission track as well as the non-publicly viewable submission track. For those folks who opt into the publicly viewable submission track, this channel permits ideas to be viewed and further developed by the entirety of the Open IDEO community. We find that opening ideas to a global community with a variety of experiences, cultural backgrounds, and area of expertise holds rich learning opportunities and the potential for real and lasting impact. If you opt into the non-publicly viewable submission track, we understand that not all innovators want to share their ideas publicly. And so to account for this, we have a submission track for companies that wish to opt out of sharing their ideas with the broader public. So please consider to read over both of these options and decide which track fits best for your team and your team's needs. For a complete overview of the challenge, there is tons of information on the NextGen Cup brief. So if you go to openideo.com and visit the challenge page, we have the entirety of the brief on there for you to read through, as well as additional resources, frequently asked questions, and deeper information, again, in some of the areas that you may have questions on. And now we're going to go over some questions that have come through from the community around the NextGen process and some questions around legal and IP. So the first question, and we'll have both Chris Krohn from the Open IDEO side as well as Kate Daly from the Closed Loop side answering some of these questions, is I'd like to apply for the NextGen Challenge, but I'm not interested in participating in the accelerator. Can I still get involved? Would love to hand this over to Closed Loop.
So just to let everybody know, there's absolutely no obligation for any challenge applicant or winner to enter the accelerator. we will invite up to 6 challenge winners to participate in the accelerator, and this is completely optional. I think there are a lot of great things that are going to go on in the accelerator, but there is no mandatory inclusion in the accelerator in order for you to participate in the challenge. And even if you're a winner, you're not required to participate in the accelerator.
Great, thank you so much for that, Kate. And our next question comes is, if I don't get selected as a challenge top idea winner, may I still apply separately to participate in the accelerator? And would love to hear your thoughts again, Kate, on that one.
Yeah, so the accelerator is only going to be open to challenge winners. And so if you didn't participate in the challenge, then you are not going to be eligible to participate in the accelerator. So all the more reason to join the challenge.
Great. And another one for you, Kate, is, if I don't join the accelerator, will I still have access to piloting opportunities?
Yes, we will, on a case-by-case basis, be inviting some challenge winners to participate in piloting opportunities. And so if you're interested in piloting and you have an amazing solution that was one of our challenge winners, then you will be able to participate where we've determined through matchmaking there's a good alignment between your idea, your solution, and some potential piloting opportunities.
Great. And another accelerator related question for the closed loop team, it's really exciting to see a lot of these coming through, is it a requirement of entry into the accelerator that I allow NextGen partners to invest in my company?
That's a great question. And although typically closed loop partners, which is the managing partner of the NextGen consortium, as part of our circular business accelerator, we do typically reserve the right to take equity and participate in companies. However, for the NextGen challenge and the NextGen accelerator, closed loop partners will not be taking any required equity stake warrant or requiring any other investment commitment. Challenge and accelerator participants are still eligible for consideration for that investment if it's determined that there's a match. But any company who's invited to participate in the accelerator is not required to have an investment arrangement or agreement with the managing partner, closed loop partners.
Great, thank you so much for offering a lot of clarity around the accelerator and what that relationship will look like. Our next question is for Chris of the Open IDEO team. We'd love to hear an answer to, will you own the intellectual property associated with my proposed solution?
Thanks, Lauren. And very simple answer is no, you own that. No partner in NextGen nor IDEO has any ownership rights of your IP. And we'll go into a little bit more detail around our terms and how those relate to ownership. But in short, you own your IP and move forward with that.
And another IP-related question is, I'm still concerned about my IP. How will you protect my company's ideas? Would love to hear from you, Chris, again on this one.
Great. So, here at IDEO and along with Closed Loop and all of our partners, we really value and respect your intellectual property. So the first phase of this application, we really ask that you submit non-confidential high-level overview information about your proposal. And so that includes kind of company name, basic outline, and kind of an overall summary of your proposed solution. You'll see the questions we have in our submission form, and some are marked required, others are not. So we really encourage you to share what's necessary for us to evaluate. If more detailed information about your idea is going to be required for the next stage of review, and so we'll work with you to ensure that appropriate measures are in place to protect your confidential information. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get forward in the webinar.
Thanks, Chris. There's a question around terms and conditions. I'm concerned about section 1 in the terms and conditions where it states that IDEO can alter the terms at any time. What does this mean? Chris, would love for you to take this.
Great. So thanks for that question. It's certainly understand the concern. And really what this means is we don't anticipate altering our terms during the program. If we do, for any reason, we're obliged to inform everyone and users as we make those changes. So it's unlikely, but on the occasion that we do have to make changes to the term, it's really just to clarify in the interest of participants and to make sure things are more clear and understandable for everyone who's joining the challenge. Because of the sheer volume of folks that join the challenge and view the terms, it's difficult to inform users on a one-on-one basis ahead of time. And so that's why that language is in there, and essentially just means that if we do make any slight adjustments, we'll make sure to notify everyone immediately following the changes. And again, any changes to the terms are really going to be in your interest and to protect participants.
Thanks for that, Chris. And another question regarding terms and conditions is I'm concerned about section 3 in the terms and conditions where it states that IDEO can use my content in perpetuity. What does this mean? Would love to hear your thoughts.
Great, great question, and certainly understand how that could be interpreted. And what that really means is that IDEO reserves the rights to share a brief summary of your company and team if and when the team is selected as the winner of the challenge. So IDEO is not interested in using or sharing or pulling out details of your content for any reason. This is really a clause that's in there for the purposes of promotion and publicizing winners of the challenge. We also may include something like a high-level title and a one-sentence summary in newsletters or the challenge website or other promotional content. So as you know, IDEO will not use any of the information from non-public concepts aside from the title without consent. So as Lauren mentioned earlier, we have these two submission tracks, one being the public and one being the non-public. What this clause means in legal language is that on the public side, not only might we share a photo and a brief summary and your IDEO title if you're selected as a winner, but because that public challenge page lives on beyond the challenge, it allows your submission to live on there in perpetuity. If you submit the non-public submission track, nobody will be viewing or able to view your submission aside from IDEO, Closed Loop, and our judges. And your concept will not be viewable at any time to the public.
Great, thanks for that. I see the emphasis on not submitting confidential information. What does this mean? Chris, I'll hand this one over to you.
Great, and thanks again for that question. And we're definitely appreciate all the questions that have been coming in so that we can help to clarify things for everyone. So really what this means, again, is that the content you're submitting to the ideas phase of the challenge should be information that you're comfortable sharing with IDEO, closed loop partners, consortium partners, including Starbucks, McDonald's, and a panel of judges. The public submission tracks allows your content to be viewable by the public. Again, as stated, while the non-public option prevents your submission content from being viewable, and instead is only viewable to the group of partners and judges we mentioned. Because your idea will be reviewed by several people, including judges and members of the NextGen core team, we encourage participants not to submit information they are uncomfortable sharing with a panel of reviewers. So again, this is really about submitting content that we're able to evaluate and assess your submission for the purposes of determining which solutions will move on to the phase 2, the refinement phase of the challenge. We're looking at moving forward about 30 ideas, up to 30 ideas. And so we will need enough detail to really understand what you're proposing. But again, feel free to kind of only submit what you're comfortable submitting, and take a look at the submission form before you submit, and feel free to reach out with any questions along the way.
Great. And Chris, we have another question around confidentiality. This is a great one. So section 19, confidentiality of your terms seems to conflict with section 3 of sharing content. Can you please explain more?
Absolutely. And so we kind of touched on this with one of the previous answers, but you retain ownership of your IP throughout the challenge and thereafter. You're allowing sponsors and have publicly submitted other users on the platform the rights to learn from and build upon your ideas. If you do not want to participate in this public platform, please submit information that you are comfortable sharing with the cohort of judges and the challenge partners to the non-public channel, as we've mentioned. There's no transfer of IP ownership to IDEO or any other partner by participating in the challenge. All users retain intellectual property ownership. So do keep that in mind as you're participating.
Great. Thank you so much to Kate on the close-up side and to Chris for answering a lot of those questions around challenge process and legal. For our community, if you do have additional questions around terms and conditions, et cetera, please don't hesitate to send those to us, or you can drop them in the Q&A and we'll continue to answer those questions as they come up. And for the next portion of the webinar, we are excited to answer technical questions that you've sent to us from the previous webinar, in emails on the platform, and when you filled out your RSVP for this webinar. So these are curated questions around some technical specificities within the challenge. So the first, which I would love to hear from Kate on, is the NextGen consortium members have tested cup solutions in the past. Why were none of these solutions viable, and what can I learn from those efforts to inform my solution?
Thanks, Lauren. And that's a great question. And certainly the NextGen partners, as well as the food service industry more generally, have been working toward a more sustainable cup for many years, but have not yet found a solution that addresses the structural and commercial systems that produce, collect, and recover our cups. And as you all know, the industry's stringent health, safety, and performance standards that are there in place to keep us all safe also make it challenging for new commercially viable solutions to be brought to life at a global scale. And we know that there are many different markets for recycling capacity around the world, and we probably need more than one solution to fit all countries' circumstances. So NextGen Cup is bringing together the relevant players to enable new cup solutions that accommodate different regional systems and produce materials worth recovering.
Great, thank you so much for that, Kate. Another question that I would love to hear your thoughts on over at Closed Loop is around cup material and specifically fibers. So a question was, does the cup material need to be based in fibers? For instance, is a bioplastic cup eligible? And would it be okay to apply with development of plastic linings?
That's a great question, and something that we've been hearing from a lot of different people. And so the key piece of information here is that submissions must be compostable and recyclable. Solutions must address the hot and cold fiber cup. However, solutions do not have to be fiber-based themselves. And proposals may include new materials, as well as reuse and alternative delivery systems made of non-fiber materials. And then in terms of the question regarding the liner solutions may be submitted as part of a proposal for an overall cup system, and of course should also be compostable and recyclable. And all solutions should be recoverable in recycling and composting infrastructure and facilities.
Great, thank you so much for that. And as we mentioned earlier in the webinar, there is an additional resources page attached to the challenge brief. So if you have questions about recyclability and compostability, et cetera, that's a great place to dive deeper into that space. Another question is, will you consider alternative fibers such as hemp? I'll send this one over to you, Kate, at Closed Loop.
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, we're definitely interested in seeing all sorts of materials being applied to this challenge. So no one should hesitate to submit a solution that uses alternative materials that are not paper-based. We really are very interested to see what are the diversity of materials that could be used that also meet the performance standards and the other criteria that are available through the application resources.
Great. And another question regarding submissions is around frozen confection cups. So are frozen confection cups desired submissions from McDonald's and Starbucks? I'll hand this one over to you, Kate.
Sure, thanks, Lauren. I mean, the key thing is that the NextGen Cup Challenge is focusing on a very specific area, which is the hot, cold fiber to-go cup. And so that's what the submissions really need to focus on, not replacements for plastic foodware and cups.
Great. And that's a question that's also come quite a bit through our challenge platform. So again, just emphasizing to focus on the hot and cold fiber to-go cup, not replacements for plastic foodware and cups, as Kate just shared. Our next question is, are there already defined guidelines on which certification, institutions, standard methods would be accepted to validate the repulpability and compostability? Kate, I'll hand this one off to you.
Sure. So we've shared a lot of the guidelines and standards that challenge applicants can reference in their applications. So I think if you go to the challenge website and go to the page called additional resources and links, you'll see additional information there, and you can cite those guidelines and standards where relevant as they're appropriate for your particular application.
Great. And we'll also just to flag, we'll also share this deck out so you can click directly through these links here that we've got on the slides and our answers. As Kate mentioned, do please take a look at the challenge brief and you can find all of that information there as well.
Great, thanks. Our next question is about performance standards. So US performance standards are regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. I think the EU might have stricter standards than the US. Do Starbucks and McDonald's prefer ideas adhere to US FDA requirements or the stricter EU standards? And I'll hand this one over to Chris to speak to.
Great, thanks, Lauren. So we do share in our kind of evaluation criteria page, as well as our additional resources, that we make a note of the standards of both certifications. We do anticipate solutions, kind of a diversity of solutions and targeting different geographic areas. And other applications are welcome to submit solutions that adhere to either or both standards. So for the NextGen Cup Ideas Space submission questions, which again you can link directly to or find on the brief, if you scroll all the way down, we've got a whole list of links there. We outline the different approaches applicants may take, including global, where we're looking for solutions that are designed to be implemented on a global scale. Solutions have considered the diverse needs of international markets and have developed a strategy to be recoverable within those varying infrastructures. You can also select the regional channel, and so here solutions will consider a local approach to solving regional issues with the To-Go Cup. These solutions will be designed to meet the experiential and performance needs of a particular market and have been designed to be recoverable in that specific region. So again, if you're working on a solution that you think is applicable across infrastructures, you may select the global. If you're focusing on something that you know is really targeted to the cultural needs or the recovery or material needs of a particular region, you probably select that track. Then we also have the other submission option, which is these solutions may not yet know whether they're applicable on a global scale or within a particular region, and we'll seek to answer these questions through further testing and iterations. Solutions in this bucket may also include alternative reuse delivery systems or address partial components of the cup system, such as liner materials. But as we mentioned in the previous questions, all of those solutions in the other component should identify and work toward addressing the entire cup system, and they will have to be compostable and recyclable as well.
Great, thank you so much for providing additional context around that. Our next question is, what carbon footprint metrics will be used for transportation of goods in all aspects of the supply chain? Kate, I'm super curious to hear your thoughts on this one.
Sure, thanks, Lauren. In the challenge application, as part of that process, you'll see that you'll be asked to state how you've incorporated additional sustainability attributes into your solution beyond recoverability. And that can come in different formats of, Forest Service certified, other certifications, looking at your sourcing, and you can reference carbon footprint metrics related to your solution in this part of your application. That's certainly information that would be of interest along with those other metrics.
Great. And another question for you, Kate, around performance is, what are the specific performance standards that McDonald's and Starbucks need for the cup? Is there a desired temperature range?
Sure, and I'll just speak to that sort of generally at first, which is that your application should include technical information about how your solution will work. And of course, we're looking for concepts that meet or exceed food service industry health, safety, and performance standards. We'll be assessing concepts from a holistic standpoint. We'll be looking at your entire business case, your environmental impact, and the potential for scalability. And our additional resources page is a great place to get started, to get more information on that. And then to get more specific in response to the question about temperature range, we're looking at solutions that have a range up to 212 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're looking for durability and shelf life of a cup that does not have liquid in it, an inventory status of 6 months to 1 year, and a cup that's filled with liquid that's packaging designed for single use would have 3+ hours of durability and shelf life. And in terms of printability, meaning that the cup material is able to hold a logo, certain inks do impact a product's compostability. So we really want you to consider the holistic viability of your technologies, including any factors that may impact different stages of the life cycle, like compostability. And so those are the more specific issues. And then certainly please consult the additional resources page for more information.
Excellent. I just wanted to add to that also that we certainly understand that the design and prototyping is an iterative process. And so while it's really exciting to be able to share these performance standards, do know that it's okay to kind of be working toward achieving standards. Let us know in your submission how you're going to achieve that and where you're focusing to hit those goals. And then you'll also have, if you're selected to move on, a refinement period, which is another opportunity to really dive in and get those solutions adhering to these standards that we've shared.
Great. Thanks for both speaking to that question. Next, we have what metrics will be used for the number of times a cup full can be repurposed, and what will be measured for those cups that must be retired. Chris, I'll hand this question off to you.
Thanks, Lauren. So any information you provide on how your cup solution will align with recycling and composting infrastructure will be a helpful part of your application. For those solutions that advance to later stage of the challenge and or to the accelerator, there will be further opportunity to review post-use durability in material cycling. So again, even looping into some of the answers we provided earlier on the legal and how much information to submit, certainly share what you're comfortable with, but do keep in mind across the board that these initial applications are going to help our team, our partners and judges evaluate whether or not to move on, whether or not you'll move on to the next phase of the challenge. So certainly the more layers of information and context that you can provide to us, the better overall as we review.
And this last question is one that I'll have you speak to, Kate. Will this challenge include recovery and reuse of product, or should ideas be confined to product cup redesign?
Thanks, Lauren. And this is a really important question because the key issue is that solutions must address the design, materials, and technical requirements of the hot and cold fiber cup currently used in a retail setting. And so if you're thinking about other solutions that apply in terms of different materials, different types of packaging, infrastructure solutions, new technologies, those are outside the scope of the challenge. We're really looking at the hot and cold to-go fiber cup. So your application should also state what recovery and or reuse options are viable for your proposed cup solution. And proposals may also include cup reuse and alternative cup delivery systems.
Great, thank you so much. And I know it's been a question that a lot of folks have had on their minds, so thank you for answering that. Thanks for just providing your expertise to this Q&A, both on the closed loop side and on the open IDEO side. In terms of next steps and what we see ahead on the coming weeks, the submission deadline is approaching. It is on November 16th, once again at 5:00 p.m. Pacific time. So please mark that on your calendars. And again, we highly encourage you to provide some context for your submission if you're choosing to opt into the public submission track before the final deadline, to give our community the opportunity to engage with your idea and provide some additional feedback. If you do have questions between now and that deadline around process, additional technical questions, or even questions concerning legal, please feel free to forward those to our team at nextgencup@ideo.com.
Awesome. And just to double and triple emphasize, there are only 12 days left. So even if you're planning on submitting to the non-public channel, I encourage you all to click through and take a look at the submission form so you can start to understand what questions we're going to be answering or asking of you to answer. And if you then do have additional questions for our team, for closed loop, really do send us those. We're taking note and we're valuing those questions. So we really appreciate you all sending them over. And since we had a little mic snafu earlier, we're going to hand it over quickly to McDonald's and they'd just like to share a quick note for us.
Hi everyone.
Great.
And Jess Marshall with McDonald's, and we're just wanted to thank you all for joining us today on this call. And it's really exciting to hear your questions and your engagement. And we're thrilled to see the submissions come in the next 12 days. And if you have any questions, you know, our friends at Open IDEO are happy to answer them for you.
Excellent. Thanks so much. And it's just always so exciting to have our partners joining us and knowing that they've been so involved with getting the answers to you to these really time-sensitive and important questions. So big thanks to everybody on the consortium partner side.
Great. And we look forward to seeing your concepts continue to come through. It's been really, really inspiring and exciting to see what we have thus far on the platform. And we can't wait to see what you come up with between now and the final deadline. So thank you all for joining, and we look forward to seeing you in the challenge.
Thanks, everyone.